Welcome to another exciting edition of Weather or Not. Veronica here is in the studio with your latest forecast. We have a feature by Marissa Lautenbacher on weather myths, and of course, great nature in the news stories featuring chimpanzees and fish fraud. So stay tuned, because Weather or Not starts right now. Well, thanks for tuning in to another exciting edition of Weather or Not. I'm your host, Michael Priante.
And I'm your forecaster, Veronica Dolan.
Well, Veronica, it's been pretty warm the past couple of days, and for November, temperatures in the low 60s isn't really normal about this time of the year, and I hear that it's going to be getting a bit colder by the weekend and even the possibility of some snow. What's going on?
Yeah, Michael, we will be around average starting at the beginning of the weekend and dropping below average, actually, when we go through our weekend. But I'll get to more of that in my forecast.
All right, well, that sounds great. But for now, let's take a look at some exciting nature in the news stories.
A mega shark that lived 300 million years ago would have made today's great whites look like shrimps, according to fossils unearthed in Jacksboro, Texas. Scientists have named the newfound fossil the Texas super shark, and the name is fitting: more than 26 feet long, or more than half the length of a school bus. That's 25% larger than the modern great white shark and more than 3 times as long as other fossil sharks, such as the newfound shark specimen from New Mexico at 8.2 feet from head to tail. The super shark lived before the age of the dinosaurs, which emerged about 230 million years ago. Until now, the oldest giant shark was found in rocks dating to 130 million years ago. This indicates that giant sharks go back much further in the fossil record than previously thought. When the super shark was alive, a shallow sea called the Western Interior Seaway covered Texas and much of the American West. The fossil remains of the sea's marine life are still being uncovered in the ancient seabed. Further research is needed to determine whether the Texas super shark specimens represent a known species or if a species that has yet to be discovered.
This past Wednesday, the United States and Cuba met in Havana to sign a very important environmental accord. This agreement protects the numerous species of fish and coral that are shared within the open waters that separate Cuba from the U.S. mainland. Many types of fish and marine life get carried by the same ocean currents in the Caribbean and the Gulf waters, so it was in their best interest for both countries to join forces and collaborate on the preservation and sustainability of these shared waters. The agreement also comes just months after the U.S. and Cuba resumed diplomatic ties, which have not been started since the 1960s.
A new report from conservation group Oceana found that some consumers might fall victim to fish fraud, particularly in the winter. After an analysis of 82 salmon samples from restaurants and grocery stores in the Northeast, Oceana investigators found that 43% of the samples were mislabeled. Often individuals swapped expensive wild-caught king salmon for cheaper farm-raised salmon. Some 69% of restaurant samples tested proved to be farmed salmon sold as wild, though not all menu labeling was intentional. Consumers could purchase something rated as a best choice, like a wild Alaskan salmon, and may get a product from a foreign country that has problems with sea lice or antibiotic use if it was farmed or caught illegally, leading to serious ecological consequences. Overfishing due to consumer demand is a well-documented problem for many marine species, in addition to being vulnerable due to effects of climate change. The Atlantic cod has been subject to carefully managed harvesting limits, but the population is still vulnerable. Research did not specifically explore just how water temperatures hurt the fish, but previous research demonstrated that heat can damage the fish food supply, as well as prompt the fish to move to cooler, deeper waters where they face greater risk from predators.
The United States National Institutes of Health, or NIH for short, which is known for its extensive biomedical and health-related research, has announced that it will be retiring the rest of its research chimpanzees. The decision to quit the chimp research program has been in the works, as only 2 years ago, the NIH retired about 310 primates on the recommendation by the U.S. Institute of Medicine, which is now called the U.S. National Academy of Medicine. The move to remove the rest of the chimps was also influenced by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service's decision to add chimpanzees to the endangered species list. The remaining animals at the NIH will be given new homes, specifically government-funded chimpanzee sanctuaries.
Getting into our weekend forecast, our average for this time of year is upper 40s, and that's where we're going to start at the beginning of the weekend. But as we progress, we will be dropping below average through the weekend. Starting with Friday, we have this low pressure system that will be moving off the East Coast, and that's going to be taking the showers that we saw on Thursday with it. Behind it, we'll be clearing out as the high pressure system off to our west also moves in, so it will be sunny throughout the day. As for Saturday, that low pressure system will be off our coast, and that high pressure system moving into the area, and this is going to bring increasing clouds throughout the day. As for Saturday night, it will be interesting because this low pressure system off to our west coast will be moving in the area, and this is going to bring light snow with it in the overnight hours. As for Sunday, again, that low pressure system will have moved through the area and taking that light snow that we saw overnight with it. However, behind this front, we will be cold and breezy. Highs only in the 30s for the day, and that wind is only going to add to how cold it's going to feel compared to the mild temperatures that we've been dealing with in the past couple of weeks. Taking a deeper look into our weekend forecast, Friday high of 46 and plenty of sun throughout the day. For Friday night, low of 32 and increasing clouds for your overnight hours. And for Saturday, again, those clouds will still be increasing and sticking around in the area, high of 42. And Saturday night, again, that light snow will be moving through the area, low of 32. As for Sunday, high of 37, and those clouds still sticking through the area for the day. And again, it's going to be breezy, so it's going to only add to how cold it's going to feel throughout the area. So good idea to grab a jacket, maybe those gloves, and even a scarf before heading out.
You've probably heard your relatives talk about heat lightning or complain about how high the relative humidity is for the day. But those are just some common examples of weather folklore, myths, and faux pas that we will be debunking. I asked around Penn State Meteorology Department for both teachers and students and even local forecasters what their favorite weather myths are. The most common myth we see every day is that raindrops actually look like teardrops. Dr. Matt Cumgen explains what they really look like.
Bigger and they start to fall faster. They're affected more and more by drag or friction with the air. And so what that does is it helps to sort of flatten out the drops, and they get a flat base and start to look more and more like hamburger buns. And so the largest raindrops look something like this, which they have a flat base and they're very elongated in the horizontal direction, but small in the vertical direction. And again, that's because of the aerodynamic drag.
It is so ingrained in our heads that even the National Severe Storms Laboratories and many other weather organizations and companies actually adorn the teardrop shape on their logos. Another common myth is that relative humidity will tell you how sticky it is outside.
You often hear in the summertime, folks will say, oh, it was 100 degrees and the humidity was 100%. But the truth is that actually is not possible. And that's because humidity is related not just to how much moisture there is in the air, but also to the temperature. And because of that, when the temperature goes up, the relative humidity actually goes down.
A better estimate of the humidity is actually the dew point, which is the temperature at which water will condense. The closer the dew point is to the actual temperature, the stickier and more uncomfortable it will feel. Surprisingly, there are many local and regional weather folklore in various regions from around the country. We asked a few students about weather lore where they're from. Have you ever been to a city and noticed that the surrounding suburbs are a few degrees cooler? Well, you're not wrong, because this is a common occurrence known as the urban heat island effect, and it commonly occurs in New York.
New York has a problem with recording its temperatures properly and sometimes snowfall as well because its main station is in Central Park, where the temperature is usually roughly 5 degrees or so cooler than it is in lower Manhattan.
Wish you were in California enjoying the sunshine? Well, it might not be as sunny all the time as you think.
Being from California, I get a lot of dirty looks when I tell people that, hey, I'm from California. They think, oh my god, it's always so warm and it's so sunny over there. Well, truth of the matter is, it's only warm some of the time. And as for sun, yes, but over 300 days of sun, nah.
California does get its share of sunshine, but some regions will only get 280 to 180 days worth of sunshine. The proclaimed Sunshine State, Florida, actually gets only 68% of annual sunshine. The state that has the most cities with over 80% of the year receiving sunshine is Arizona. So maybe Arizona should be renamed the Sunshine State. Even locally in Pennsylvania, we have our own weather lore. You've probably passed one of the many central Pennsylvania farms and come to notice that cows and other animals act strange when bad weather approaches.
I grew up in South Central Pennsylvania, and it's a very agricultural area. And one of the main things was when farm animals, especially cows, when they were laying down, you'd always know that rain is going to be on the way, because that's an indication from our standpoint that bad weather, or rainy weather specifically, was coming into the area. I feel like they have a sense of what's coming and they take proper precautions.
There are many theories surrounding why this old wives' tale might be true. One of them being that when cows get too hot, they stand up in order to cool themselves. Otherwise, when the cows notice a change in temperature or cooler weather following a storm, the cows will lay down in order to conserve their heat. Even as the seasons changed, they are accompanied by their own misnomers. As we get closer and closer to winter, you'll commonly hear sleet referred to as hail. So make sure you look out trustworthy sites for your weather information, because modern-day forecasting is no wives' tale. For Weather or Not, I'm Marissa Lautenbacher.
Thanks, Marissa, for that, and getting into our extended forecast. But first, taking a second look at our weekend forecast. Friday, high of 46 and low of 32. This will be around average for this time of year, and plenty of sun for the day. As for Saturday, high of 42, low of 32, as we begin to drop below average, and increasing clouds throughout the day. As for Sunday, high of 37 and low of 30, and those clouds will still be sticking through the area with a few peaks of sun. And taking a look at our extended forecast, we are flirting with average for the upcoming week. Monday we will begin below average for this time of year, and by midweek we will be around average. By Friday, we will actually be above average. And taking a look at our actual weather for the week, Monday we will be sunny, and by midweek we will have increasing clouds. By Friday, we will be cloudy.
Well, thanks, Veronica, for that excellent forecast. But for now, let's look at your Weather Whiz quiz. Earlier in the show, we asked you a true and false question. It stated, true or false, do raindrops look like teardrops? Well, if you guessed true, you are, in fact, incorrect. They do not look like teardrops, and Veronica can explain it to you, right?
Yeah, Michael, the smallest raindrops are actually spherically shaped, and as raindrops grow and fall, the drag force increases, which flattens the bottom, giving it the shape of a hamburger bun.
Wow, that's a really interesting fact. Thank you for that little tidbit. But that's all the time we have for today's show. Thanks for tuning in to Weather or Not. I'm your host, Michael Priante.
And I'm your forecaster, Veronica Dolan. Have a great day.